And welcome, everybody. I want to associate myself with the remarks of Senator Shaheen, her opening remarks. Governor Huckabee, it was good to get together with you yesterday. I only get 5 minutes in this forum, so if you could keep your answers short. I'm just going to ask your views on certain principles. And it is absolutely true that the Jewish state needs a friend. I think you also recognize that there are many in the Jewish community here in the United States who disagree with the views that you've expressed with respect to certain issues in Israel. And I do want to ask you about some of those, because you are seen as a big hero of the Jewish settler movement on the West Bank. You supported the idea of Israeli annexation of the West Bank, as you've confirmed here today. So I want to know where you draw the line. I recognize that you will be the president's emissary, but you've made a lot of comments on this, so I am interested in your thoughts. Do you agree with me that it would be wrong for a Jewish settler to push a Palestinian family off land on the West Bank that was owned by that Palestinian family? Do you agree with that?
Senator, thanks for the question. I think there are a lot of things attributed to me that aren't necessarily 100% accurate. I'm sure you would, if you've experienced that a time or two in your career.
That's why I'm trying to clarify. I'm asking some very simple questions.
A very simple
hope
question.
to get very
I'll give you
direct
a very
answers.
simple answer. I believe that there has to be always the law being followed, and there has to be clarity. I also believe that it won't be my policy that will be implemented in the Middle East. It will be that of the president.
So this was a very simple question, Governor.
Yes, sir.
So we have a Palestinian family on the West Bank today. They own the land they're on. My question to you is, do you agree that it would be wrong for a Jewish settler to push that family off their land? Yes or no?
If we're talking about stealing the land, taking it away from them?
Their land, yes.
That's a problem. If you're talking about purchasing the land, that's a legitimate transaction that...
Okay, so when you said in 2017, and I quote, Israel has title deed to Judea and Samaria, unquote, you did not mean it gave Israel the right to kick Palestinians off their lands in the West Bank. Am I right about that?
Senator, I've never indicated that that was a part of that. I simply referenced the biblical mandate that goes all the way back to the time of Abraham, 3,500 years ago, and that's what I was referencing.
Right. No, I understand you have that view, but I'm trying to understand the consequences of that view. So in your view, if Israel were to annex the West Bank, what rights would Palestinians have? Because when I asked you that question yesterday, you focused on the right to work, economic opportunity. So my question today is, would those Palestinian individuals in an annexed West Bank have the same legal and democratic rights as Israeli Jews living in the West Bank?
Annexation does not mean displacement of people.
No, I'm not asking about displacement right now. I'm
Senator,
asking if they remained there, would they have equal rights to Israeli Jews living on the West Bank?
There would be security. There would be opportunity.
That's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Governor. You know that.
No, I'm
So I'm asking whether they would
have
equal legal rights, whether they would have the same legal rights as a Israeli Jew who settled on the West Bank living side by side. Would they have the same legal and political rights?
Senator, if you mean would they be able to live freely, they already do.
How about voting? You're suggesting that the West Bank become part of Israel. Are you suggesting that Palestinians living in the West Bank should have the right then to vote in elections in Israel?
Senator, let me correct and say I'm not suggesting.
Let me
because I have to carry out the policies of the president.
I do want to ask you about the situation in Gaza because I think you would agree that it would be wrong to hold any innocent Palestinian civilian accountable for the evils of Hamas, right? I mean, that's just a simple principle. You don't believe in collective punishment, do you?
Senator, I don't believe in collective punishment. Right. If the Palestinians in Gaza have participated in the holding of hostages and in the torture,
right.
then
so
they've got culpability.
But there are 2 million people right there. And Senator Merkley asked you earlier about withholding food, because for 23 days there has been a ban on humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Finance Minister Smotrich suggested, and I'm quoting, it might be justified and moral to starve 2 million Palestinians in Gaza as part of a strategy to free the hostages. Simple question. Do you disagree with Finance Minister Smotrich?
Senator, as you know, an ambassador doesn't get to argue with the people of the country he goes to represent the United States in.
Right. But
my job is to represent the president and his policies.
Right.
And he has not given those to me because I've not been confirmed.
I understand. You are aware, are you not, Governor, that when he was asked whether the Palestinians who would leave Gaza under the president's plan could return, he said no. That doesn't sound like a voluntary program, does it?
What I've heard the president say is he does not push for forced displacement. I've also heard him say he wants a better life for the Palestinian people. He wants them to have security. He doesn't want their children to be put in front of the munitions of Hamas as they have
Nobody
been.
does, Governor, but that's not the question.
But that's
I see
what
the
the
time's up.
president has said.
We did have I thought, an important conversation yesterday
Yes,
about the situation of some of the churches in Jerusalem and Israel who are feeling a lot of financial pressure because of actions being taken by municipalities in Israel, as well as a concern they have about a bill in the Knesset. You remember that conversation?
Yes, sir.
Right? And
Senator,
you agree that we should work
over on your
together
time.
on that issue, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,